That's it, that kind of solo guitar style. Now, let me show you how I use these effects in a band context. We're going to play a song for you called The Welfare Elite, and I'll show you how all these effects are used. I'd like to introduce three dear old friends of mine who I'm honored to have here to play with me today. On drums, Mr. John French. On the electric slide guitar, Mr. Scott Colby. And on the six-string bass, Mr. Andy West. The Welfare Elite. You probably noticed that John French, our drummer, has an amazingly original drum style that's different from any drummer you've heard before. He developed this in a band called Captain Beefheart and His Magic Band, a band led by a man named Don Van Vliet. John was in this band from, about 1965 until, on and off again, until the early 80s. This was a band that I was a big fan of even before I started to play guitar, and their music really fascinated me when I played guitar, when I began, and I spent a lot of time listening to it and trying to figure it out. It taught me a lot of different things. Two of the most important things it taught me were that you can be really brave in what you try to play with rock instrumentation, with electric guitar, bass, and drums. You can try anything. You can do things no one's done before. You should be really brave and take chances and do things that you think are too difficult and not humanly possible to do. That's one thing. The second thing it taught me was that you can, even though you're playing composed music, and this band played almost completely composed music, you can put a lot of expression and feeling into your playing, and each individual player really has a lot to say, even if he's just playing parts. Kind of the pinnacle of achievement of this band, Captain Beefheart, was probably an album they made in 1969. It's called Trout Mask Replica. Here it is. And John was there to make that album and did a lot of the work on it. I think the band members in Captain Beefheart's band never really received as much credit as they deserve for the music. Why don't we ask John to explain to us how this music came into being, this style, and how it was worked on for this particular album. John?
Thank you, Henry. The Captain Beefheart style actually had early influences in the Delta blues and also in avant-garde jazz. Some of the influences in Delta blues were Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, Howlin' Wolf, John Lee Hooker, and Son House. In the avant-garde jazz, there was John Coltrane, Ornette Coleman, Eric Dolphy, and Archie Shepp. When Ry Cooder joined the group shortly after I did in 1966, the album Safe as Milk was being recorded, and his bottleneck style influenced Don a great deal as far as the possibilities of guitar and the slack key tunings. Later, when Jerry McGee replaced Ry Cooder, his style of Cajun guitar and his finger-picking techniques also intrigued Don. By the time Trout Mask Replica was to be written, Don had obtained a piano and was writing guitar parts on the piano, which was even a further stretch for the guitar player, being as how a piano player can play 10 notes and a guitar can only play 5 or 6 at the same time. So this was quite a challenge to the band. Most of the music was written down rather than recorded. It was actually written straight from what Don played on the piano, and it was in different time signatures and also in different key signatures. And if you can imagine trying to get it so everybody started and ended at the same time, although they were playing in different signatures altogether. They had to listen to the pulse. Nobody was actually playing the pulse. I wasn't playing time. Nobody was playing time, but the pulse had to be listened to. So we had to use a lot of intuition, and we also had to play very powerfully so that our statement was strong. This is how the album actually got that unorthodox sound. And there's a lot of colors flying in the album, so if you haven't heard it, you should give it a listen because it's interesting and it does show a different area.
Well, we're going to play a study that I've been playing for years as kind of a study in the style of this album, Trout Mask Replica, in the style of Beefheart's music with that band, a piece called Lynn's Mad Money. And I want you to listen to how all our parts, which are all composed parts, interlock together. And there's a few little solos in this. That's one thing that makes it different. And there's a big vamp at the end in 5, which John and I kind of go crazy during. But for the most part, it's completely composed parts that are pretty difficult to play together all at once. And you can look in the booklet and see my part in music and tablature and try to figure it out yourself if you like. Lynn's Mad Money.